начинаем, наверное. Вот. И мы начинаем как? То есть я вас представляю. Я вас, наверное, представляю, потому что вообще изначально у нас чуть-чуть по-другому, ну ладно. То есть как бы я вас представляю. Вы говорите пару слов. И дальше...
Я читаю, не читаю, я вот...
Fascinating question and answer session. And I am very happy to welcome all of you, dear experts and students, to be part of this very interesting session. And I am looking forward to an interesting discussion, and I hope we can all find out lots of facts about artificial intelligence, its present and its future. And I would first like to give the floor to the rector of the State University of Management, Mr. Ivan Labanov.
Good afternoon, honorable guests, dear students. I would like to invite you to the third International Scientific Forum, Stepping into the Future, Artificial Intelligence and Digital Economy. As I know, you are the students of IT classes at Moscow schools. Each of you plans to be involved in problems of future of the IT field. And right now you have a very good opportunity to immerse yourself in this fascinating issue and ask honorable guests, all those who create the future right now. And I want to pass my board to our moderator, Lyubov, and she will introduce all our guests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I will start by just briefly introducing our honorable experts and guest speakers of today. And we'll start with Professor Soo-Young Lee, South Korea. Mr. Soo-Young Lee is Professor of Electrical Engineering and Professor Emeritus at Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, and he's also Director of Institute for Artificial Intelligence with the same university. Okay. Mr. Noboru Kona, Japan. Mr. Noboru Kona is Professor of Management, Information Science of Tama Graduate School in Tokyo, and Guest Professor of Graduate School of Keio University. And he also serves as Chairperson of Japan Innovation Network and is President of Future Center Alliance Japan. Okay. Mr. James Shi, Hong Kong. Mr. James Shi is Director at Social Media Lab with Department of Electronic and Computer Engineering at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Ms. Waltraud Ritter, Germany. Ms. Waltraud Ritter is Director General of Knowledge Dialogues, which she founded in Hong Kong, and is an expert specializing in research related to the governance of smart cities. And last but not least, Mr. Yakudu Tua, I'm sorry. Mr. Yakudu Tua is Program Specialist with UNESCO's Universal Access and Preservation Section, Communication and Information Sector at UNESCO's Information Society. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so dear experts, the high school students present at this session have had a chance to look into the research work of your institutes, as well as the areas of your scientific and practical interests in the field of artificial intelligence. However, we would kindly ask you to briefly introduce yourselves and talk about your research fields and your work. Because time is limited for this session, could I suggest that you talk for about 2 or 3 minutes? And the students will then ask their questions, and then you will have another 3 minutes to give answers and to their questions. All right? So I'm happy to give the floor to our speakers for their brief presentations. Perhaps we should start with Soo-Young Lee.
Hi, thank you for coming. And I'm basically electrical engineer. I work on electrical and AI for 33 years. But basically, as I say, I like to learn how our brain actually does build intelligence. If something is already known, I just use engineering approach. I just borrow that idea. But if I don't know what's going on, for example, how our mind works, then I actually measure brain signal, see how actually emotion or personality coming through our brain. That's the only thing I'm interested in right now. I'm trying to develop the mindful conversational agent that can talk to you. And if you are stressed, you can talk to my avatar, and then after 10 minutes or 20 minutes talk, you will be much better, much happier. I call it happy talk. Thank you.
Hi. Again, my name is Kono, but call me Nobu. I'm a university professor, but unlike Dr. Lee, soon I teach innovation in management school. And my research domain is knowledge creation, knowledge ecosystems. That means how knowledge is created and disseminated among the organizations, enterprises, and the society. So my work is probably slightly connected to artificial intelligence, because our approach is that our brain, human brain, is not the cerebral brain, but includes your emotion and physical. It's a kind of holistic kind of intelligence. Maybe we shouldn't call it intelligence, but that's our kind of theoretical starting point. So we are collaborating with the AR engineers, and sometimes we have a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, James Shi.
Period. Hello, everyone. So, thank you. Quick question. How many of you using VK apps? Can you raise your hand? I think all of you, right? So I'm a professor and also a director in HKUST Social Media Lab. So what we do is to train machine understand the data from social media, especially multimedia data. So what is multimedia data? When you use VK, what do you do? What do you share? Messaging and photos and audio, video, right? So what we do is try to make machine to understand the video, audio, picture, we call multimedia data, such that we can understand what people like, what's happening, in the society through the social media. But this day, we are particularly interested to understand what is a beautiful picture. For example, like art painting. So our recent project is how to train machine to understand art or to create beautiful art. So if you're interested, just approach me and we can start from there. Thank you.
Waldschrauter. Waldschrauter. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Waltraud Ritter, and I'm based in Berlin, but also live in Hong Kong. So I'm kind of between Europe and Asia. And I'm an information scientist by training and a sociologist. And I'm interested in the kind of the space between universities, society, and business, in that knowledge space. And I think that's a kind of it's a bit of a niche because you're either at a university or in business. But I think in this nowadays, particularly with AI, there are so many questions that go beyond research and also beyond business. So it's a good space to understand what are the different perspectives of different groups in society about big questions of our society. And I work a lot for international organizations also on the Sustainable Development Goals and smart city, sustainable city, and all these questions around knowledge, society. Thank you.
Jaco de Toor.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jaco de Toor. I'm a program specialist at UNESCO. And UNESCO works on looking at emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and how it actually can contribute to knowledge societies. And what do we mean by more knowledge societies is where knowledge is actually accessible, is used in an ethical way, we have the skills to use it, it's preserved, it's accessible, and it contributes to development. So within the Intergovernmental Program of Information for All, we advance policies to make sure that countries actually have the right policies in place to advance it. We help countries to build capacities for different stakeholders, students, universities, civil servants, and others. And as of November, our member states have asked UNESCO to develop a normative instrument on the ethical implications of artificial intelligence, where we could look at principles when we use such emerging technologies as artificial intelligence that can be used globally.
Okay, so I believe we are now ready for questions. So the floor, I'm very happy to give the floor to our high school students present here today. And remember that we have time for about 10 questions. If there's more time, then, you guys are very, very welcome. So please, whoever's ready can go ahead and start.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm studying in school 1501, and I love playing computer games. And one of my favorite is Watch Dogs 2. In this game, we can see the near future, where is a big network called CTOS. And this network collected all people's data and sent it to different companies. For example, insurance companies calculated cost of insurance for you. Banks analyzed your expense and give you special offers. Your fridge can see what you have in your what you have from food, and analyze this to create a shop list for you. So, and there were a group of hackers who can drive your car, get your money, and I don't know what is worse. So big companies or hackers or who can to change your life, and do you think that it's our future, or shouldn't we be afraid?
Well, I'll try it. Valentin, would you like to? Oh, sure. James, please.
Very challenging question. Good that 2 months ago, my student told me this game. So I just learned on the fly. I think before I answer, when you have you played this game? What do you think? How did you feel when you see the stories like this?
I think that hackers did great work to fight with the corporations, companies.
Yes.
I think that hackers did great work. They fight for freedom and for independence.
So I think this is actually when we do the research in social media, we always say that social media is a reflection of some of the reality. I think the game is also trying to reflect something in our society. So I think there's no right or wrong, but I think just like different people, they pursue what they really want for their life. So some people in the game, I will enjoy the convenience, so I don't mind the privacy to be shared, right? Some people, I will concern my privacy because it may be abused by some people or bad people. Or maybe some people, they want to change the world for hopefully better. So I think the game is actually reflecting the potential message. And I think whether it's the future life, I think it's up to you to interpret. But I think before that, you need to have the knowledge and also the understanding whether they are the true in the game and how much actually close to the reality. Then you will have a better control of the knowledge for the future. So that's my sharing and feedback to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay, any more questions? Oh, sorry. Jaakko, did you want to?
Thank you for your question. I think this scenario can be worse or it can be better. But it really depends also on your skills and competencies to function in a digital world. And that's why UNESCO is encouraging what we call media information literacy, that includes also ethical behavior and others, so that you know when you hand out your data, what can happen with it. And you also know what to do when it actually happens. But that's not the only solution, I think, when we look at this world. Another element is to start looking at normative instruments that regulate the internet, which will mean that our internet will be different than with the way we have it currently. And there's a lot of discussion on what can you regulate, what shouldn't you regulate, how do you deal with privacy and many of the elements. So I think we are at the crossroads of new developments where we ask our questions, like in the game that you mentioned, and we don't have answers yet. But I think that's why it's important to involve young people even in this kind of discussion.
Thank you, Jaakko. Nabor, did you want to?
Just add on. Oh, it's not just about hacking, but any technologies like biohacking. Any technologies do not have its own purpose. Purpose is defined by the people and the society. So when you are dealing with new technologies, you never know you're right or wrong until you do something. That means you have to think about what's called common good. It's the ultimate purpose for the society. If you're against common good, no good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kano. Okay, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Gennady Guichman. I'm from school number 1363, and I have a question about threats and hacking, but in the companies in the real world. A leading Russian expert in corporate security, Natalia Kaspersky, says that more than half of the threats come from within companies, not external threats. And the most vulnerable area is Internet of Things. how could you comment on these claims? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Who would like to answer this question? We're talking about threats coming from the inside. Yes,
It's a
please.
very tough question. I don't think anybody have answer. But in Korea, we have a proverb said, 10 police cannot catch one thief. So if somebody really work hard to penetrate any security system, put all their effort, there is no 0% penetration probability. That's as an engineer's rule of thumb. So that means you have certain probability of the penetration by somebody else, and then whether you want to use that kind of system or you just want to disconnect your computer through internet, you don't use any mobile phone to keep your own security. So that's your option. So in the connecting to the previous questions, I don't think the future is determined by somebody else. We will determine our future. Whatever you really want will be your future. So if you really want to keep your privacy, and then you say, okay, I'll disconnect all my network, then you can go on. Or you say, okay, I'll make use of the internet and friendly services, then also allow some probability of attacking that. And then one last thing I should say is, there will be a chance for you. You have a right to select or not to select any privacy-related services by yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, okay, maybe the lady.
Good afternoon. My name is Jana, and I would like to address my question to Jaakko Dutoit. Could you tell, please, how has the Russian position in UNESCO changed since the 40th General Conference? And what is the potential of Russia in UNESCO programs? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, also of putting the Russian Federation within the context of an international organization like UNESCO, which is an intergovernmental organization. And within the governance structures of UNESCO, all member states are equal. And no veto rights are attributed to any of our member states. So all member states are equal, and Russia play a very active role within that international fora to look at questions related to knowledge societies, to normative instruments, to advancing technologies in the developing world. Within the organization like UNESCO, then we have what we call intergovernmental programs, like the Information for All program, where Russia is currently one of the 26 member states, which means that Russia within the Information for All program then plays a more active role because it's one of the selected 26 member states that actually look at the questions related to knowledge societies. So, and Russia has always been supporting UNESCO and the Information for All program quite a bit in terms of advancing, especially multilingualism, but also some of the other information for development policies that we have. We also try to make sure that, governments such as the Russian Federation is also present during our different events, because there is a good story to tell vis-à-vis your innovation. We heard today a lot about some of your policy initiatives, some of the grassroots projects that are there, and we give the necessary platform for Russia also to showcase those elements. And I think the fact that this event is taking place in cooperation with the UNESCO chair that is here at this university shows also the prominent role that a country like Russia can play in an international organization such as UNESCO. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Dutour. That was an interesting comment. Wow, we have a lot of questions. Okay, maybe a lady in the front row, please.
Or maybe me, please.
Yeah, we'll get to that, yes. So.
Okay.
Such data as, for example, weather changes are not really accurate now because there are a small amount of stations. Maybe people could start using data from cars, such as temperature and geolocation, and it will make more correct forecasts. Is it possible for a smart city to proceed fully to similar simplifications? And if yes, what will it take to do so?
Who would like to answer this question?
So I'm not sure if I understood your question correct. You were asking whether the data from the cars can be used? Would you mind?
Such as this data from cars, as I suggest.
We need the data points.
I think.
So you mean about the data?
Excuse me.
Data collection.
Excuse me. I think the question was how can we use big data in smart city?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Shortly.
Okay. There will be much more data collection points when we, for instance, have a 5G network or sensors, and the car is also like a big sensor in a way. So there will be smart city probably has a vast amount of data collection, but I think we still have not figured out how we use all that data. And I also think that a lot of the existing data that we can collect is not used at the moment. So, I hope this. You want to add something? Yeah.
Yes, I think it's great to see how we could collect more data, and cars and people moving and public transport are possible sources of that data points. But how does it infringe on people's privacy? If that same information is used in order to monitor where I'm going, then we have a problem. And that's why we advocate for ethical charters of smart cities, so that the citizen like you could have the assurance that it will be used in order to better foresee weather and not to track me, for example. So I think it shows that there are many innovative ways to start collecting data, but we have to be careful when we do it so it doesn't infringe on our rights. And that is, I think, one of the big problems that we need to solve.
Thank you for your answers.
That was a very interesting question, by the way. Yeah, so thank you for your comments on that. Okay, I believe we had someone with a question at the back, so please go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry for my rudeness earlier. I'm
okay.
Fyodor, and I'm from school number 1367. And I actually have a question for James Shee. So, when you introduced yourself, you said that you're teaching via AI how to draw beautiful pictures. So, and I also heard that AI is used widely to replace the hard workers. So, if AI does art, AI does the hard work, so what does the human?
Very good question. I'm so impressed by you guys, the question. Let me answer the hard work first, and then I answer the arts part. There's a lot of actually work or jobs I would say is very dangerous or very tedious or very difficult. And in my opinion, right, I think AI has a really important advancement to deal with some work that actually may not be meaningful or not too useful for human, but it's necessary for the society, such that can free human to do other better hard work in terms of creativity. So now, come back to the arts. Actually, I was giving a keynote this morning. We try to train the machine able to appreciate what is beautiful things for two reasons. There's a lot of application actually would be practical for automation, productivity. We want the machine not just able to recognize this is a cat, this is a dog, or this is a car, this is a apple, right? We want to distinguish whether it's a good one, beautiful one, nice one, right? Or doesn't look appealing, maybe not fresh. So this is the reason we want to train the machine a bit more understanding what is aesthetic, what is beautiful. On the other hand, actually, what we differentiate from machine, I think human, actually we have the creativity. When we try to do research on AI to do art, actually it's trying to help. I give an example. When I was younger, I was so lucky when I wait for my parents in the gallery or museum. I always talk to the manager or someone in the museum just to tell me the stories. So I learn a lot. But this day, to have someone all the time walking around with younger ones in a museum or gallery can be really expensive. What if we can have an AI understand arts, also able to generate arts, to be like an assistant, to be like a friend, to train the younger one, or even my parents, they may not know the history of some Russian arts. When they come here, they see a beautiful Russian arts, but they don't understand the language or the history of Russia. Then the machine can explain, actually can improve the understanding, the culture of human to be another level. So I think I see AI will help us to advance our labor force. On the other side, we also advance our creativity level. So this is what I believe. Of course, there's some concern about ethics, right, or control on the choices of the technology development. So that's why it's so important for you guys to be open-minded. Like what we just discussed, any technology has a good side and bad side. I think the most important part, if you have the truth of the knowledge, then you can make good use of the technology. That is something I would like to advise. Hope I answer your questions.
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. That was a very, very interesting question. I think this kind of debate could go on for a long time, but we need to move on. Wow, yes, still lots of questions. Okay, how about this? Don't forget to introduce yourself.
My name is Ivan Rumyantsev, school 548, and my question is, what do you think about using AI in judicial system? And do it need to be emotional or based just on information? Thank you.
Who would like to answer this question? Please.
Well, again, that depends on what you want. So if you want to be just by machine or AI, it will go that way. If you don't allow them, probably it will not happen. So for me, my personal opinion, although I'm working on AI for the last 33 years, I don't want AI judge me. But also there are many advantages of AI compared to human judge, because human judge may be emotionally affected, they may be stressed in their personal or physical situation, etc. So human judge decision may not necessarily be the best and unbiased. Therefore, AI may provide, if we train AI unbiased and carefully designed, then it will come up with better recommendation. It's not just a decision, it is maybe a better recommendation to the jury, and the judge or jury will make the final decision. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, wow. I'm happy we have so many questions. Perhaps the young man in
Excuse me, can I just have a microphone, can I?
Oh, well, now that you have a microphone, please go ahead.
My name is Maxim, school 1554, and all of you are directly or maybe in fields related to that work with artificial intelligence. And obviously you meet them in different projects and like real experiments. So my question was about how to find the balance between model interpretability and its accuracy. We all know that like real-world situations can't be fully transferred into mathematical model, though we still want to keep the level of accuracy so not to affect our experiments. And how is it solved on practical usage? Like in your, maybe in your experience you had like such questions appearing and you can answer. Thank you.
I think that's an engineering question, so that's good engineering question. And also that is the main part many researchers are discussing at this moment. And basically there are two different approaches to build intelligence. One group tried to build intelligence by combining many different rules. So if a certain symptom is coming, you have diarrhea or etc. But that didn't work because we cannot come up with all the possible necessary rules in advance. Because in real situation, they may always have some differences between the rules. So it failed. The next approach, we call it rule-based learning. That's currently the main AI technology. So we learn from example. Of course, the example we learn may not necessarily include the actual test example will come up in the future. So therefore, we need to learn a lot of things. So millions of training data is now regarded as small, tiny data. Some people using more than billions of training data to make the decision. Actually, that means much more than average human can learn throughout their life. Of course, that does not guarantee it will come up with correct answer all the cases. And some of the examples like the image recognition and speech recognition, that's actually the easiest part of human intelligence. The AI can work better than human. That means less misclassification than human. But that's, again, better than average human, not the best human. So we still have gap to come up with the best doctor. So AI, Watson may prescribe better the medical problem, but better than average doctor, not better than top 1% medical doctors. So there's always a problem. Also these days, many researchers found some pitfalls of the current AI systems. So if the system after training classify, make decision better than average human, but if they modify the data some tricky way, they can fool the AI system. AI system becomes just foolish. So there are many things we need to overcome to come up with much better and robust decision making. That's the goal of actually the job of current AI researchers are doing.
Do you believe that we will, like, the AI systems will come to that moment when they will be already more, like, better than this 1%, and, like, it could achieve goals in any of the fields presented, like, coming just through our own computerization and, like, building it inside the numbers and models?
That depends on what kind of problem they learn, what kind of problem they are working on it. So it depends on the problem. For image recognition and speech recognition, AI is better than average human. However, still not better than average human for child voice or elderly voice or some dialect. So they still have improvement. So there are many different situations. We cannot say AI is better than human. So that depends on problem by problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, we still have time for a few more questions. So perhaps the young man in the middle of the auditorium.
Thank you. My name is Max, and I have a question to Yacoub Dutoit, since his work is directly related to UNESCO. We have the trend of automation of human labor due to artificial intelligence technologies. We have the first stores without cashiers open in America. We have cars without drivers, and manufacturers getting automated everywhere around the world. There is such a trend that people that are currently taking positions of low-level jobs are gradually losing their professions just because these professions are gradually disappearing. My question is, how do you think the wide implementation of artificial intelligence will affect the labor market of developed countries? What will happen to people who are now doing work that will be automated in the future? Thank you.
Thank you for the question that relates to the future of our jobs. And I think that when we think of the future of jobs, we must think of a different society. Because it is true that on the one hand, certain jobs will disappear. Like in the past, for example, when there were monks that have rewritten books, and because of the printing press, their jobs disappeared. No? But other jobs came into the market. So I think, first of all, we must be able to look at what are the needs for our society so that we could train and retrain our future generations. And I think this is why universities have such an important role to play. This said, I think what we need today is more of a society where people are lifelong learners. Because now we say we need people that know AI. In 5 years, maybe it's not AI, it is something else. And we'll have to have a workforce that constantly change, because either the knowledge becomes more specified or that there are other needs and people have to adapt very quickly. So I think that if the education system produce a workforce that is adaptable to many changing situations, create very specific knowledge that can be used in fields like AI or others, I think we have actually a rosy future of new developments in types of jobs, but also of what work means in our society. because currently people work from 9 to 5, but I'm not sure that everybody will work from 9 to 5 in 10 years. And we have to rethink our society in terms of what does work mean in our society. We must even rethink economic models on which our society operates, because maybe it's not work that will bring to us wealth, but something else. And that is why it's so important that our universities and schools produce people that think, that can adapt, and can obtain very quickly very specialized information sources that permit them to operate in a society that changes constantly.
Thank you, Mr. Dutour. That was a very informative answer. Okay, perhaps the young man. Oh, where is the microphone? Oh, okay. So perhaps a young man in that middle row.
Hello, my name is Yaroslav. I'm from school 2036. So I'm glad that I have possibility to ask you some question. So I think that people all over the world know that someday humanity will create a robot, a machine that can not only think and even it will have the same feels like human. So someday humanity will create a real artificial human. So my question is, can people in the future, in that utopia future, I think, live with these androids near, and how it will be? Thank you.
Would like to answer this question.
Okay.
Okay. Mr.
That's
Lee,
my
please.
favorite topic, actually. So, how about someday you saw a news on your TV and say alien just arrived in Earth. And they have very good guys, they have willingness to help human and live together. What you will do? One chance, you may say, no, I don't want you guys, just live first, alone. That's one way of doing. The other way of doing, suppose they have good capability, or science and engineering, try to build the human society much better than before. So I think the same thing is happening if we come up with artificial intelligence, Android or whatever form, that has willingness to help us and try to promote the quality of life, then we also have two choices. We say, I don't want to use you guys. I don't want to live together with AI. That's one choice. The other is I'll have nice living together. That's your choice.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Actually, I want to add
Please.
some comment. This is also my favorite question, indeed. I share with you one extreme example, but from there you will see what is the possible future. I recently involved a project also related to arts, but it's for the blind people. So they don't have the capability like regular people. They go to the museum, they can enjoy and understand arts. So luckily, we have a really good deep learning technology can describe. So basically, they develop a really simple camera, actually using the phone. Allow the deaf people, actually, when they just go inside, look around, and then the camera will describe what is being in front of them. So that actually opened their another dimension of their lifestyle. So this project actually is right now undergo, and a lot of those blind people, they actually feel I cannot feel how they feel, but I can see they have a new way to interact with regulars in the museum. So now, you reverse this case. We as a human, we get old someday, and then a lot of function of our body will get decayed as well, including our eyes. Indeed, this technology, if you can have a good imagination in the future, when something happens to our regular vision, it can still help us to extend our lifestyle. So I think eventually, right, when our normal body decay, we need to become a bit more, we call cyber equipped or Android embedded. So I think may not be a bad thing in this direction, but of course for other things, I think it really depends on the application and the purpose of the meaning. Yeah, so I hope that can give you some insight.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. Very interesting. Okay, well, we're running out of time, so perhaps one more question. Does anybody have a question about smart cities, perhaps? Smart cities? Okay, please. Where is the microphone?
Hello, my name is Nikita, and I'm from school number 630. And I have a question. If the optimization of the city services and processes leads to an even faster development of the cities, as well as an increase in population and urbanization, will all of this lead us to a new economy? Could the smart cities cause the dramatic changes in the current economic system? If so, are we ready for such changes? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to answer this question? Ms. Faltraud-Ritter, maybe?
Okay, about the smart city development, I think the biggest challenge that we have now is that how to make these smart cities sustainable, because as you know, most cities are growing and they're becoming these mega cities, but they are also still very much consuming too much energy and so on. So I think the big challenge is how we use technology and data to make our cities climate-proof and to provide work and opportunities for everyone. So that's also something that the UN works on, the UN Sustainable Goals. I don't know if you have heard about them. SDG 11 is on cities and how to make them, using technology, making them still safe and inclusive for everyone. So I think Moscow is also a still growing city, and it's also a huge city. But how to make it accessible for everyone is still maybe a challenge.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Ritter. Thank you very much for your answer. All right. Well, I believe this is all the time we have for our Q&A session, and I think this session has officially come to an end. But first, I would again like to thank our experts for their very interesting answers, their very informative answers, and the expertise that they bring, but also for the intelligent questions from our students. So thank you very much. I hope you managed to get some answers to your questions, and if you still have some questions, then you can actually forward them to Marina Grigorieva and receive your answers from our experts within about a month. And again, I hope you've enjoyed the meeting. I believe it was very productive. I can say that it's been an eye-opener for me. And thank you for your very active participation. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you for coming.